Hi, everybody. Welcome to Subconscious Sundays with myself, Rev April Kling Meyer, and my beloved co-host. How are you doing
Hi,
today,
everybody.
Tim?
Doing well. How are you? Well, first, how are you?
I'm pretty good. I got a brand new computer, so I am just kind of sailing with this episode on that. It should result in us having a clearer picture and also maybe crisper dialogue, crisper audio. But there are some bugs that I'm still working out, so bear with me just in case those bugs didn't get worked out like I hoped. So we are still in the shadow of the Mercury retrograde that just ended.
And I was going to ask how everybody who's joining us is doing, as if we could have a direct interaction here. But I hope everybody's doing well on this Sunday, and it's a real honor to be here.
Yes, and as always, please feel free to comment on how your Sunday is going. And we like to keep the chat open on these episodes. So um, let's use that as a segue to set the intention for today.
Great.
So,
Yes. So if this is the first time you're joining us on this, we always like to kind of set our intention in particular ways. This program, we want it to be a kind of a fun and entertaining, or at least laid back way to discuss potentially heavy topics.
we like to remain open and inviting, welcoming those of you who have questions or ideas to respectfully bring those into the conversation via the chat.
And this is our weekly ritual where we're gathering our shared community in this virtual sacred space to share our knowledge and experience and hearing from you about yours as well.
And our core values are to be respectful of everyone's journey, stay rooted in compassion for ourselves and others, promote growth and expansion, and create a supportive community, which we wouldn't have if it weren't for you. So today's topic is vision. I'm looking at you. And when I asked this week's topic, I kind of nipped the what type of vision I'm talking about in the bud. Because I'm obviously, I think I'll be talking about like future vision, right? I'm not talking about like how well I see. I mean, the truth is that, and this is something that doesn't get talked about a whole lot, but I just turned 45 years old last week. Happy birthday to me.
Yay, happy
And
birthday.
in my family, it's hereditary, but it's also like a pretty common, like, it's pretty common ailment for women of my age to start losing their vision. And I have been like really, really rapidly. So,
You've never
um,
told me that.
well, I'll tell you, it's really weird. Tim has a background in acupuncture. So there's a point right here that if my acupuncturist puts it in there, my vision problems go away for like the
Awesome.
rest of the day. Very, very odd. But I have been having short distance vision problems. And you probably see a lot of women, like you give them something to hold or to read, they do this with it. Like,
Well, not just women. I'm getting to that point where every once in a while it's like, oh, I'm almost,
okay.
I'm getting there too.
Okay. All right. So it's not just women. That is good to know too. But yeah, it's kind of one of those deals I've been dealing with. But obviously, I'm not talking about that type of vision, although I am starting to see kind of like, okay, there's wisdom in this too. Like in today's episode, we are talking about like future vision. We're talking about timeline kind of vision, not necessarily like what we do with our eyeballs, but what we do with our minds and what we do with, our spirit in terms of vision. But there's always wisdom to be gained from anything that you're going through. So the whole idea of like not being able to see what's around me versus having a very clear vision of what I want actually is very, very pertinent to what I will be talking about today. So
Yeah, and there's, as you're saying this, there's lots of different ways of seeing, right?
Mm.
And so that's kind of what we're talking about. And are clearly we're limited by our physical senses, and our thinking mind is limited, but we can see more when we recruit our subconscious minds. So
Yes,
I'll let you get into that.
yes. We will be getting into that too. So, this week's question, I headed off any like sarcasm about which type of vision I was talking about by inserting the word future in parentheses, because I knew for sure somebody was going to make crack wise, like, oh yeah, my vision. How does my vision factor in the pursuit of my ambitions? Well, I don't want to trip on anything. See there, I did it. It's done. How does your future vision factor into the pursuit of your ambitions or your purpose? Is it ever accurate? This is a big one for me right now. So Jill weighed in, and this is important to consider in this conversation because it factors also into kind of like this like undercurrent thematic conversation about manifestation and
There is an
about how
undercurrent
like
here with that for sure. That's where I've
mm-hmm,
landed
mm-hmm.
on a lot of this, looking into this topic myself.
Yup. We'll be talking about that too. I don't know that I have ambitions or a purpose. I think those ideals are a privilege I am surviving and hoping that eventually life will improve on a number of levels, says Jill. We've been there. We've all been there. Izzy says, my future ideal life is always in my mind as I work through the goals that get me there. And Izzy had more to say about this. I wish that I had more to offer in this vein, in this conversation, but it is forthcoming. So I think what I'll do is I'll put it in the comments of the YouTube when I hear back from Izzy, because there were some things that she mentioned in her comment that I've edited that I want some further clarification on, I think would be very pertinent to this conversation, but I didn't get that information on time for this episode. Sorry. And then an anonymous person, someone who didn't want to be named on the show, said, oh no, it is never accurate. That is why I try, but often don't succeed, to be present in every moment and to be like water. I try my best to prepare for the life I would like to live, but you know what they say about best laid plans of mice and men. Be just like the vision you have in mind. You're setting yourself up for serious disappointment. If you decide that's it okay, if life doesn't fit perfectly into your vision of things, you are leaving the door open for moments of unexpected joy. Very, very wise point there, anonymous person. And then we have Fran, who mentioned, first of all, I'll preface this her answer by saying that, first of all, she mentioned that how this question has really shifted for her since she has turned 80 years old, right? So I asked her to clarify that, and she said, I'll get back to you. And this is what she said. I will say that legacy is a bigger concern at my age. So, but I feel pretty good about my life with connection, planning, and love. I know my primary and quiet gift has always been as an encourager. So me too, Fran, I very much relate to that. And I give all glory to God. So Fran is a deeply, deeply devout Christian, just to give you some context there. And I wanted to include that because, well, why not? I'm a reverend. I'm an interfaith minister. So why not include that she factored God into this conversation? And I think it's important too, because how I am informing myself on how I'm going to speak about vision today comes from a theological framework. And it comes from a parable by Simone Weil, which is about the treasure under the rock. And the treasure under the rock is, Simone Weil was considered a mystic atheist. So those of you who watch this show who consider yourself like to be spiritual atheists or mystic atheists, I'm going to scratch that itch for you just a little bit. So the idea of the treasure under the rock was actually sort of a theological parable, like kind of comparing the treasure to God. But in the context this was introduced to me, it was Peter Rollins on his short film, and it's called How to Make Love. It's not really about sex. not really about sex, but it's about desire, which as Tim knows, I really want to do a whole show on desire at some point. And honestly, that show would be informed by that movie as well, because and it's sort of like it's sort of like this weird blend between Existential Kink by Dr. Carolyn Elliott, which is also not really about sex. But here we are. I did check mark that this show is for people under 18 on YouTube, so I think it's okay that we talk about this. But in Peter Rollins's film, he talks about the parable of the treasure under the rock, which is the idea that there's this miser, as he puts it, who is in full belief, like 100% belief, that there is this treasure underneath this immovable, impenetrable rock. Imagine this rock, like maybe it's a mountain, the size of a mountain. You can't mine it. It's, not even diamonds will crack it, let's say. But it's completely impenetrable. It's completely immovable. And this miser truly and firmly believes that this treasure, this like mound of gold, is underneath this giant rock. And the idea that Simone is putting forth is that is what, and this is sort of to tie back into our previous episodes on faith and belief, that this idea that the gold underneath the rock is God, or the void that the idea creates is what we fill that void with God. And it's a really interesting thing to think about. Now, Peter Rollins goes into another parable about the two lovers separated by the chaperone to talk about desire. So put a pin in that, because we're totally doing an episode on desire soon. And I want to talk a little bit more about that. But vision has a lot to do with desire. So if I didn't talk about desire, our discussion on vision would be quite incomplete. But this treasure under the rock, for me, considering that my whole philosophy is that creativity is spirituality, this gold under the rock for me represents outcome. It represents this idea that, well, it represents the idea. It have such a very clear idea of what it is we're moving toward, what our goals are, what our future is going to be like, or even the outcomes of all the work that we do and all of the effort that we take to make our lives what they are, or to make our creations what they are, or to make whatever we're making or do whatever we're doing. And as we know from the creative process, we have to develop a very delicate relationship with that outcome, with that desired outcome, as well as the outcome itself, because those are two completely different relationships. There's a relationship with the desired outcome that really motivates us to do the thing in the first place, the thing that starts us from zero to move us forward into the process itself, the desired outcome. And then there's the actual outcome. And our relationship with that outcome, what actually occurs, the actual results, is a completely different relationship from the desired outcome, even if they are seemingly identical. Now, if you get the outcome that you would get, or the outcome that you did not desire, your relationship could fall in one of two different families. It could be that you are satisfied and it's sort of a form of serendipity, or you could be dissatisfied, and this would be in the form of disappointment. But I'm here to tell you that if your outcome was exactly the same as what you envisioned, you're going to have two different possible things, and that's going to be satisfaction or it's really the same thing. So no matter what our vision is, and this is the point I want to get across today, no matter what your vision is, your outcome of your life, the way that you think your life is going to turn out, or the way that you thought your life was going to turn out, your relationship to outcome is going to be either disappointment, or it's going to be fulfillment, or my favorite third option, it's going to be the thing that keeps you going. And one thing that I've learned about about when I get to a point where I think I'm at the final stage of creation, picture of a shoe. And I have this great drawing of a shoe, but it's not exactly the drawing of the shoe that I had in my mind. I can make a different decision, a couple of different decisions with that. I could start over, start a whole new drawing of a shoe. I could erase the shoe and start a different thing. Or I could just keep going. I could keep working on that drawing of the shoe until it is exactly how I envisioned it. So there, once again, we can pull out from that satisfaction, dissatisfaction. We can decide to let it move us forward. Now, I am a big fan of something that the anonymous person mentioned, that if you aren't too attached, that you aren't too attached to outcome, that you develop this dynamic, this relationship with your vision, where you hold it really loosely in your hands, where it has a little bit of room to through the, you have this really gentle relationship with your vision, that it allows joy to seep in. And I try to live my life this way. I try to let the serendipity be what's in charge of that dynamic. I try to let all the unexpected joys come into the different things I didn't expect. The only way I'm going to do that is through conscious presence, the present moment, at every moment, and being engaged with all of the physical senses, as well as those senses that are beyond that. And the way that this subconscious fits into this is that this dynamic, this relationship that I'm describing this in this whole sermon, is not usually a dynamic that's being considered in the conscious foreground. It's something that's being considered subconsciously at all times. It factors into the way we relate to our world around us, whether we're conscious of this or not. We're always in our vision, be it the physical dimension or otherwise. We're always going to be in some dynamic with expectations. Now, I'm not sitting here and saying, notice I'm not sitting here saying, get rid of all your expectations. It would be lovely if we could, but the problem is that's impossible. You can't penetrate that rock, right?
That's not how the mind works.
So your expectations have to manage. You can't get rid of them completely, but to honor your expectations, hold them loosely, and to create that, to create the dynamic with your expectations where you hold them so loosely that you let the joys to seep in. I love how that anonymous person put it. It allows for more joy into your life, and it allows for that serendipity to be of what you get as a result than the disappointment. I'm hoping this all makes sense, but that's pretty much the conclusion of what I wanted to bring forward today.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so glad you're sharing this, and a lot of our viewers are right in alignment with you. Bear is right there with you.
I see that. She says, my practice encourages a non-attachment to outcome. My purpose is to be useful, and so I work as hard as I can in the present and open myself to whatever unfolds. The reality of the vision may look completely different to what I think it looks like now, so I hope I have to go with whatever manifests. Now, I love that Barry used the word manifest to tie it back. I like this definition of manifest rather than the definition of manifestation that kind of gets thrown around in pop spirituality, which is this idea of making our wishes come true with the wave of a magic wand, which I've mentioned, I'm kind of good at that. And the reason that I'm seemingly very good at that is really because my magic wand is patience. And also my magic wand is what Bear is describing here, like allowing whatever to unfold. I have this totally detached outlook on my manifestations, and that has served me well.
Awesome. Thank you, Bear, for sharing that too. I don't want to poke too much fun, but if you guys seen there's a movie to the book, The Secret, and it's like
I have seen
they
it.
they think about the whatever, like the diamond ring, and it's like sends the wave out, and then they get it right. It's like that's this, not now. I do believe, and I think a lot of our viewers do also believe that we live in a world of infinite possibilities, and really anything is possible. So I don't want to discount that, but I think it's more wise to. Uh, I think what you're saying, April, what I'm getting from everything you're saying here, and some of our viewers here, is that it's really about like being present on the journey and orienting ourselves in each moment towards that which we want to have in our life, kind of on a like feeling level and being level. um,
Yeah, it kind of, you're gonna laugh, but there's this old TV commercial, this old advertisement that's about, I don't even remember what it's advertising, but the slogan was "Fix it and forget it." And that's kind of the way that I like to think of manifestation. I don't obsess over it. If there's something I want, I go, yeah, I want that. I want to allow that into my life. And then I let that kind of seed go into my subconscious rather than my conscious mind. I let that grow and I let it kind of orient me. I let it like kind of factor into the ways that I pick the different forks in the road in my journey. And that has served me well. If I just continually focus on it, then I probably will constantly chase it away. And that is something I want to talk a little bit more on desire. And in the future episode, we want to do on desire. But there is this idea that I almost forgot to mention in this, and this is something I wanted to say. And it was the reason I asked the question I did, is it ever accurate? Is because there's two different types of visions that I tend to have. They tend to fall in two different families. And this also kind of matches when I go to sleep at night, the dreams that I have. If I have a vision for something that I want, and I see that vision in as if I'm watching myself, it's almost as if I've imagined the thing that won't happen. So to go back and imagine in fantasy, this is something that I wanted to talk about the last episode, but didn't, because I wanted to have this episode to talk about it. Like, if I see myself as separate from me doing the thing that I'm visioning for my future, I kind of have learned that that is not how it's going to happen. I've kind of learned that that's imagination, that's fantasy, and it's not vision. What ends up being the thing that does happen when I have a vision, anytime I have, dare I say, clairvoyance about it's my body having it in a way that is a first person experience. Like, my body knows what's coming. It's almost as if all of the different minerals and all the matter and energy of my physical body, the timeline of past and future, and it already knows what's going to happen. So if I have the vision, it's coming from a first person perspective, and it's myself having that experience in the future, that I won't even say that tends to be how it does manifest, or that tends to be how it happens. That is how it happens, with no exception. If my body feels what's happening, that's what's going to happen. And any other way is really just kind of ruling out other possibilities. So I thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, that's really interesting. In terms of, the subconscious mind and, well, hypnosis specifically, we do a lot of kind of pre-visioning. And some of that could be viewed as like an external, like a third person type of perspective, right? But I'm with you where the more of ourselves that we recruit into our experience, the more real um, it can become. So
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a value to a third person perspective and kind of visioning it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there's even more of a value in this sort of like embodied sense where you bring it first person and you bring it into a real felt sense. So I think there's a place for all of it, but
Mm-hmm.
where the real power lies in your experience, you're saying, is when you're really feeling it in an embodied way, right? First
Right.
person, like real experience.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that the body has a closer relationship to the subconscious than the conscious mind does? Or would you say, how would you qualify that question?
That's an interesting, I work within, a number of frameworks, and there's all kinds of different ways people like kind of like to our thinking mind likes to categorize and classify. So, one way of looking at this is we have the kind of levels of consciousness where the what our body's consciousness is sometimes referred to as the unconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then our subconscious mind is often referred to like as kind of our heart's consciousness, or really like where our emotions reside. It's kind of like our emotional landscape, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
the thinking mind, and then there's the thinking mind being the conscious mind, and then there's even this concept of the superconscious mind, which is even broader still, and brings in like a higher perspective of kind of like our spiritual existence and our higher self, right? So is our body is our body's consciousness closer to our subconscious mind? Yes, it's closer. Yes and no. There's a threshold of kind of suggestibility between each of these layers within this framework, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our unconscious mind is highly suggestible. Like, how many times have you yawned when someone else is yawning? Uh,
I'm not gonna do it.
yeah, yeah. Um, and
That
so,
was a
there,
that was a mean trick.
well, this is all around us. You'll notice. I mean, our mirror neurons. When someone is expressing an emotion on their face, like our unconscious mind instantly instantly gets it, right? Um, and then our subconscious mind, definitely. So anyway, it's complicated, right? But we're complicated, our minds are complicated, but
Mhm. Well, I'm gonna turn
I
it
think
over to you
what
to do the hypnosis
yeah.
so that I can go
Yep.
off camera and yawn my brains out.
So okay, great. I we're gonna go long today, folks. So thanks for hanging in there with us. If you have time to join us for a hypnotic meditation, I am excited to uh, take us all on a fun and powerful time traveling adventure using the power of the magic of your mind. So go ahead and settle into a safe and comfortable position where you can remain undisturbed for about 10 minutes or so, seated or lying down with a straight spine. Obviously, don't participate if you need to maintain concentration, if you're driving or otherwise. Uh, Please participate if you can allow for yourself to relax and focus for about 10 minutes or so. So as you're settling in, seated, lying down, straight spine, you can go ahead and whenever you're comfortable doing so, just to reduce some external stimuli, you can go ahead and close your eyes. But as you get settled in, I want to say a few words about envisioning your future self. And when we get into things like the law of attraction and manifesting, we're encouraged to actually feel what it's like when we bring something into reality. Uh, we have to feel it, which means recruiting not only our thinking conscious mind, but we have to get into that feeling space, which is the realm of the subconscious mind, which is really the supercomputer that's running the show and informs a lot of our beliefs and motivates a lot of our behaviors. So perhaps one of the biggest limiting factors to realizing a vision is the feeling of worry. And worry is kind of a subset of fear, and even skepticism can be seen as a form of worry, which is really fear. So Cal Banyan in his book, The Secret Language of Feelings, shares the wisdom that all of our feelings are good feelings when they're based on accurate perceptions and that they exist. We experience them. They're there to motivate us to do the sometimes difficult things that are required to meet an unmet need, want, or desire. So there are satisfying responses to all of our feelings that we experience that help us meet this need, want, or desire. And so the the thought behind the feeling of fear is usually something along the lines of something bad might happen. And especially relevant to vision here, we know that whatever you focus on grows. So with fear, we need to first do a reality check. Is the danger real? If not, if it's not a real danger, we can usually kind of adjust our perception and easily and naturally the situation and the worry and the fear itself most often at least dissipate at this point. But when a worry or fear is based on accurate perception, the satisfying response is to prepare or to avoid. So today, we're going to prepare to pre-decide. Decision making is often very stressful. It always is a very energy intensive process for our brains. And interestingly, the root of the word decide is literally to cut off. So today, I'm going to help you decide how you can move forward on your journey more fearlessly in the way that you really want to cut off the fear that you don't want interfering. Making a decision also gives us more control, which makes the brain happier. So, Alex Korb in The Upward Spiral says actively choosing causes changes in the attention circuits and in how the participants in this particular study felt about the action. And it increases rewarding dopamine activity. So, as you're settled in, I want to offer a quick antidote to worry in gratitude. There's a lot here. We'll explore this deeper in a future episode. But when we express gratitude, we know our brain also releases dopamine and serotonin, making us feel lighter and happier. So uh, go ahead and open your eyes now and take your attention to a spot on the wall of the ceiling that is above your natural eye gaze. Looking upward now and focusing intently in on that spot. As you take a deep breath in, really look at every little detail of that spot. And as you exhale, look through that spot. Maybe noticing the corners of the room, engaging your peripheral vision. And when you're ready, close your eyes again. And relax your jaw. And as you do, your shoulders drop. You're sending a signal to your entire body that there is no thing for you to do right now. It is now the time to relax. Good. And slow your rate of breathing now. Get into a really comfortable, slower rate of breathing with a really long exhalation. Good. Release all the air out of your lungs and start to maintain a slower, comfortable rate of breathing. Now relax the back of your tongue. And as you do, this frees the part of your mind that's always preparing to speak, allowing your mind to have new thoughts, or perhaps just silence and stillness. Now drop your consciousness into your heart, whatever that means to you, and just feel what that might be like to center your consciousness in your heart. And take your attention to the surface beneath you. The sense of gravity, it's just gently holding you there, and it's reminding you as you focus on this sensation that you are supported by life itself. And as you take in your next deep breath, focus on the feeling of gravity supporting you, and it helps send your awareness down into the earth, down through all the layers of the earth, all the way down to the very center of the earth. And as that awareness fades, you go even more deeply and even more comfortably relaxed and grateful for the support that you feel. You're in harmony with the pulse of the planet. And now you send this feeling of renewed relaxation from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. 1, 2, 3. And as you take in your next deep breath, you allow your awareness to reach up, back up from the center of the earth, all the way up through the top of your head, up into the very center of the universe, as far up into the realm of inspiration and insight as you want to go. Call in now your higher power, whatever that is for you. All the loving guidance in your life, perhaps your spiritual allies, and know in this moment an all-encompassing love fills you and your environment, and you are deeply loved. Now bring your awareness back down into your body, and let that grounded, nurturing energy of the earth and the wisdom and clarity of the divine commingle in this balance point of your heart. It's like the horizon between the heavens and the earth. You're open to inspiration, grounded and settled, feeling blessed with the bounty of life. Good. Now imagine a warm golden light surrounding your body, filling you with an even deeper sense of peace and tranquility, almost weightless, very spacious. And you focus in on this sense of spaciousness. It's almost as if you become boundaryless, merging with the world around you. And feel this golden light washing away any last bit of stress or tension in your body. In fact, there's one part of your body that just now wants to just let go, and feel this golden light washing away, leaving you in a sense of peace and stillness. And as you slow your rate of breathing even further, your mind slows, and you notice how your body and your mind can become just still enough to start to feel this flow of life all around you. And drop back into that flow now. Just let go into this flow. Feel it. Good. You're now at the still point in the present moment where there is no time, there is no space. We're beyond time and space in this present moment to some extent. So when I count now from 3 down to 1, you'll be at an earlier time in your life where you felt a sense of worry about an outcome. Perhaps a moment where you worried that your vision may not come to reality. 3, going back now, focusing on this feeling of what it feels like to be worried. 2, younger and smaller. 1, and be there. Let the scene unfold in your mind's eye now. First impression, just your first impression. Are you indoors or outdoors? Are you alone or with someone? And what do you notice? What are you doing? If you're not doing anything, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? We certainly can't change the past, but right now, in this very moment, you change course in your mind. You find one thing amidst this feeling of worry that you're grateful for. And it's very easy to reach for. Maybe it's another person. Maybe it's some resources in your life. One thing that brings you joy and that you're thankful for. And maybe even it's a loved one. But in this moment, you decide to be grateful. And as you focus on this feeling of gratitude, notice where you feel it in your body. Where is it concentrated? And as you're thinking about what you're grateful for, as you continue to focus on that feeling of gratitude, it grows even more powerful. And you start to feel it more intensely. Where do you feel it in your body? And if that feeling of gratitude had a color, what would the color be? Notice this color now and the feeling in your body as you continue to focus on this feeling of gratitude. It grows and this color becomes more vivid, filling up your whole body from the bottom of your feet all the way to the top of your head. And as you feel this gratitude more and more powerfully, take your thumb and your index finger on your dominant hand and gently press them together. As this feeling of gratitude grows even more powerful, that color becomes even more vivid. You squeeze your thumb and forefinger together. And now, with the magic of your mind, that color expands to become a portal. Notice it now. And in a moment, we're going to move through that portal into a time in your future where you're feeling the same exact way. As I count from 1 to 3, you'll step into that portal, that color that represents gratitude, and you'll come out the other side at a time in your future where you're feeling this powerful sense of gratitude. 1, start to move into this color and letting this color fuse and imbue every aspect of you. 2, moving into that color, and 3, stop squeezing your thumb and forefinger together and step out of the portal now at a future time. Just your first impression now. Is it daytime or nighttime? Are you indoors or outdoors? Are you alone or is anyone with you? And what's happening? Just notice what unfolds in your mind now. And as you focus once again on this feeling of gratitude, you experience an even deeper sense of calm and peace and fulfillment. Now, what are you thinking? What do you know now from this broader perspective in time? This place in your future. From this place in your future, you have an important message for your past and present self. And inside of you right now are the words that need to be said to your past self that was feeling this sense of worry. Once again, squeeze that thumb and forefinger together and feel that feeling of gratitude in your body. And silently or out loud, tell your past self now what you know now and you maybe wish you would have known then. And when those words are spoken, say them now. Stop squeezing your thumb and forefinger together. And now I want you to thank your past self from your future self for making this decision to transmute worry into gratitude. And you now magnetically draw that past self directly into your heart. Coming back to this point in your future now, imagining that color that represents gratitude again, feeling that sense of peace and gratitude, you have another message for your current self too. Once again, imagine that color filling up your whole being, feeling that sense of gratitude. Squeeze your thumb and forefinger together, and inside of you are words that need to be said to your current self. Say them now silently or out loud. And when those words are spoken, stop squeezing your thumb and forefinger together. And now, from this future perspective, I want you to thank your current present self for all the courage and wisdom it has taken you to get to this point in your life, in this present moment. where you're reinforcing your decision to empower yourself with less fear on your journey of potentially realizing your vision. And at this point in your future, you once again notice where where are you? What are you doing in your life to co-create this vision? You now know at the deepest level that whatever the outcome, from here, you've decided to live your life with less fear and experience the journey from a place of greater peace and happiness and gratitude, which can only further encourage and promote the realization of your vision. And at any time now or in the future, if you allow it, you can use this simple gesture, squeezing your thumb and forefinger together, and maybe bringing back that color in your mind that represents this feeling of gratitude. It will help you feel more on track, more fully present, and in alignment with your higher self, and grateful for the abundance and resources in your life. Now I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and you'll come back to us here at some Subconscious Sundays, feeling a sense of lightness. 1, taking that message back into your mind for your past self. 2, once again, squeezing that thumb and forefinger together, seeing that color in your mind's eye that represents gratitude, feeling that feeling of gratitude in your body. And 3, that message to your current self from your future self. And opening your eyes right back here with us, feeling awesome on Subconscious Sundays.
Oh, you know that one's my favorite.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope if anybody was able to participate with us, I hope that you will use this tool in your life, and that when you need it, it will come to mind. It's very simple.
With this one today, Tim, it reminded me of when you did that one on me and what my color was. And today I wore that color on my lips. My color was
Nice.
red.
Well, and then if it's okay with you, whenever you notice that color in your waking life, it'll remind you of that feeling of gratitude too.
It does. It does. And I know that my vision greatly changed when I did that hypnosis with you.
Awesome.
So I still remember it, and I'm wondering how accurate it was, but it still moves me in ways, and it's still like part of the vein of like possibilities in my life.
Yeah, awesome. I really wanted to, this episode is not about gratitude. I do want to talk about that, but it's one of the most powerful emotions that we have, truly,
Mm-hmm.
and it's easy. It's something we can always reach for, even if we're at the lowest point in our life. So I think in terms of vision, it's really useful, especially when worry can limit us, fears can limit us. It's easy to reach for gratitude and help us get sort of on track with how we want to be with visioning.
Speaking of gratitude, we got a little message of gratitude from Bear for today's episode. That was wonderful. Thanks, guys. Well, thank you, Bear, for always being there and for always being a part of what we do here at Subconscious Sundays. And if you want to be a part of what we do and the work that we do, we put booking links in the description of every video that we do, every week that we make them. We have a link where you can book time to speak with Tim, and we have a link where you can book time to speak with me. If you want to work with both of us, then either link will work. But we each offer an opportunity for you to book time with no obligation to just have a little bit of a brief consultation with either one of us to see if working with us is something, or one of us or both of us is something that you are considering, and we can walk you through the process of getting started with us. So please feel free to click that link and set up some time for yourself.
Yeah, and I just want to mention really quickly, thanks everybody for joining us. We can, with the work that we do at the subconscious level, we can help you, solve a problem in your life or realize a vision in your life.
Absolutely. Thanks again for being with us today. And we will be back next week. We will see you then. And the topic is TBA, but we'll announce that probably by Wednesday. If the question you can ask, I always make it public.